Welcome back to Books, Bud, and Brews. I love saying that. What a week. This week was really hard. I had to just unplug from all the media and I needed to rest and regroup a little bit. And I took a morning nap, which felt amazing. And I woke up actually feeling much better. And it was an accidental nap. I was watching the Reading Rainbow documentary, and that actually did a lot for me. It was actually like just the pep talk that I needed. I don't know, like, it's so strange sometimes. Like, I feel like I watch things or read things and they're exactly what I need, and it was wild. But yeah, Reading Rainbow still saving my generation's sanity to this day. So, what are we talking about today? We are talking about writer burnout, which is taking us out one by one like dominoes. And we don't talk about it at all. So, I'm going to talk about it. And we're also going to talk about character trauma and character arcs and healing together from trauma in romance. So, let's go. I got a good show for you. So, creative burnout. It's a thing. It happens to writers. It happens to us a lot. It's an issue in our community that we don't talk about. I don't think readers are even remotely aware. I just think that readers kind of see, you guys kind of see the like after effects of burnout, right? Like you'll see that the series that you were really into is not being continued anymore, and that author's not on social media anymore. Or you'll see authors kind of like rescheduling releases a lot, or completely canceling different releases, or like different events and stuff like that. So you guys kind of see the after effects. I think we try really hard to shield from that, possibly because we are not really facing it ourselves, so we don't really know how to handle it with our readers. I've also seen a lot of authors be pretty upfront with their readers, like, hey, I'm going through this thing right now and I just can't get this book out at the moment. Like, I need a moment for myself and I need to just regroup and reset and relax and reevaluate things. And the wonderful thing about the book community is that people are generally pretty supportive of this, which is why I don't understand why we don't talk about it, because like our readers are very supportive, other authors are very supportive, because we know where each other is coming from. So it's strange to me that we don't talk about it. I have noticed that in certain spaces, people really don't like to talk about it. What I've noticed is we got sucked into this myth that we have to publish quickly because the algorithms on certain retailers favor that, right? But the thing is before those algorithms were a thing, we were lucky if we saw one book a year from our favorite authors, right? I mean, authors were creating pen names so that they could actually publish more than once a year. The norm really was like every year or so you would get a new book from that author, sometimes even longer. Like, books used to take years and years and years in between, like, series books. I mean, like, if you don't remember waiting like 5 or more years for the next book in the series and you're just so excited and you're like just like hungry for any news, and like then it comes out and you just like get that first kind of cozy up with it, it's the best. So we didn't always have this insane breakneck speed schedule, right? Readers were happy with waiting. Writers would just take their time, focus on the craft, and things would just naturally come out and people would get to enjoy them. Now, there's nothing wrong with a fast release schedule. Do not get me wrong, because it can be great. There are people that literally read books like within a couple hours in a day, and those people, you're amazing. So no hate to people that write fast or people that read fast. What I'm really talking about is when we kind of get stuck in this thought of, oh, I have to serve that algorithm. I have to be on this schedule. I have to be very fast. I have to keep putting books out. I have to release weekly or monthly. I have actually seen people trying to do weekly schedules. I've seen people do monthly schedules. It's a lot. And the authors are suffering. That's the thing. Like, if people were not burning out so bad and things were just moving along, that would be fine. The problem is all the time, colleagues, friends, author friends disappear, never to be heard from again. Completely stop publishing. Authors that were doing well, that were kicking ass in their careers, that were really just like taken off. And then all of a sudden they burn out. And I've seen authors talk about it to the extent where, they'll kind of explain a little bit about what's going on. And then I've also seen authors just never come back either. There's also an issue within the industry of an expectation of speed. I was just talking with some authors and other industry people, and they were talking about how, they're basically formatting books and copy editing books that aren't even written yet. So if you can kind of break that down and digest what I just said, they are copy editing books that are not written yet. I don't know how that works. He explained it. It sounds stressful for everyone on all sides of it. I don't know what we're doing. I think that we need to start saying no. I think that we need to start putting boundaries for ourselves and others. And I think that we need to lose the mindset that we're all in competition with each other, because there is a lot of that mindset in our community, more so in specific spaces than others, and that's kind of like a whole separate discussion. But it really does seem like there's definitely this kind of competitive spirit that I think has become toxic. And it's one thing to push yourself and to want to do better and to keep pushing forward and to do better. And it's another thing to just kind of like pit all the authors against each other and constantly be working against each other. We are actually on the same side, because I don't know about you guys, but I cannot keep up with a person who can read 3 to 5 books in a day. Never mind one book a day. I'm just always amazed by how quickly people tell me that they read my books or other books, or how many books they read in a day, or like that kind of thing always really blows my mind, because at this point I feel like I'm lucky to read a book in a year. So what can we do? We can talk about it. That's all I wanted. I have actually been in author groups where I posted something just saying like, hey guys, like we really need to talk about this and try to figure it out, because we really are disappearing. We're burning out at, I think, a pretty steady rate, and it's kind of alarming. And I've also experienced burnout for myself, and I don't want that. Our readers don't want that. We don't want that for ourselves. We want better for ourselves. We want to have businesses that are sustainable and fun, and we keep getting better at what we do, and we do cool shit together. That's what I think. So I think, we start talking about it and we collaborate on solutions for burnout. We get more collaborative in general, and remember that there's people reading several books in a day. So, you're not my competition. I'm not your competition, because they're going to read all of our books and then some. So we don't need to worry about whose book they want to read. They're going to read all the books. And we also start setting boundaries for ourselves, right? We really think about, okay, if I'm going to publish a book a month, if that's something that like I am going to do, that I'm comfortable with and able to do, and I can do it in a healthy, sustainable way, then what are the boundaries that I'm going to put into place for myself to keep myself balanced? Because you can't keep pouring out of yourself if you have nothing coming in. And if you're constantly working late or working weekends, and I understand that a lot of us don't have the flexibility in our lives to have a steady, consistent schedule at all. I mean, I don't have kids right now, but I do have chronic illnesses, and they are like kids that they're always needing something. They never go away. They don't go with their dad for the weekend. Some of us are writing nights, some of us are working around other work schedules, some of us are working around family. So it's a lot of different things that are going on. But what is within our area of control is the boundaries that we set for ourselves. So if my writing hours are erratic and they're kind of just wherever I can grab them, then I'm setting myself a hard limit for that writing session, right? If I can't say like work a 9 to 5 and stay within tight and make sure I'm staying and keeping those boundaries for myself and keeping that promise, then okay, I'm writing tonight, but it's only going to be for an hour. It's only going to be from 9 to 10 p.m. And then I'm done. I'm going to rest and relax or do something else or, whatever else. It's about boundaries. It's also about saying no to people that think that we can just generate a book. And this is where it's going to get interesting because we have this AI technology now. And that's, a whole nother episode. We could dive into that if you guys want. But we need to remember that we're not AI, okay? We are not supposed to just vomit things out. We are not supposed to just endlessly go, go, go. We are human beings. We're meant to experience and feel and enjoy our lives. Yes, enjoy. We are meant to enjoy and experience. Even if the circumstances around us are not ideal and perfect, we are still meant to enjoy and feel and experience. We are not just supposed to just keep going and burn ourselves out. So I think those 3 things are a great starting point. We talk about it, we start collaborating more, and we keep some boundaries. Today we are reading from A Disturbing Prospect, the first book in my River Reapers MC series, and this is chapter 2. Chapter 2, Olivia. Are you sure you want to do this? My sister Lucy asks me for the 1,000th time. She lifts a man's shirt on its hanger from a rack and examines the price tag. It's one of those super soft Henley shirts, the ones that belong on Calvin Klein models, but look good on anyone. I peg her with my best baby sister look. The wide-eyed, please play Barbies with me one works every time. She sighs, shaking her head. You're going to miss class, Livy, and I don't know how long this is going to take. It's a half-hearted attempt. She tucks a curl behind her ear and tilts her head. It's like a free vacation, I tell her, grabbing the cart she's pushing and leading it toward a table of men's jeans. Is he a bootcut kind of guy, do you think? Lucy frowns, a crease forming between her eyebrows. I'm not sure. And Pennsylvania's cold this time of year. It's really not like a vacation, kid. Even though we're both in our 20s, Lucy is 7 years older than me. Sometimes it feels like an eternity, especially when I was still into Barbies and she was experimenting with makeup. She'll be 30 before I hit 25, which is usually prime marriage age, but not for Lucy. She'll never get married. Well, I say, drawing out the word, it will be if he's hot. Lucy nearly chokes. Her face streaks through with red, and the tips of her ears practically glow. He's like your cousin, she hisses. I think of all the ways our parents will disapprove of this, how they already disapprove of him. This morning, when Lucy filled me in on what she was doing, she made me promise not to tell Mom and Dad. I'm 21, and yet apparently still have to swear to little sister secrecy. Other than that, she didn't tell me much, just that her cousin Cliff needed some help because he just got out of prison. And then those cherry red lips of hers clamped shut. It's weird because Lucy and I tell each other everything. 7 years is a lucky number. We were meant to be. Dude, I'm dying to know. What did he go away for? I start unfolding jeans, checking sizes, and seeing how they fall. I've never dressed a guy before. It's kind of turning me on, and I haven't even met him yet. I don't know what to expect, so I imagine that he's tall and muscular, with dark eyes and long hair, a beard for sure, and he's broad. He could throw me around in bed like a rag doll. I smirk. Stop that, Lucy hisses. She throws me a glare. I sigh. The past 3 years of college were fun, but this new semester has me in a bit of a dry spell. Everyone is focusing on their GPAs, which is odd considering we're all legal drinking age now. You'd think they'd all be at the bar with me. Not that I don't want to graduate and get a good job, but this is it. The last semester before we're shoved into adulthood. Real responsibility and all that. Not only am I curious about the ex-con, but I'm also bored. And when I get bored, Please try not to get into trouble, Lucy continues, reading my mind. It's her superpower. Mom and Dad will kill me if they find out I dragged you into this. Dragged me into what? I toss several pairs of jeans into the cart, then face her. Crossing my arms, I give her another baby sis look. It's almost too easy, usually anyway. But this time, Lucy ignores me. She takes back control of the cart and marches toward the checkout queue. Frowning, I follow her, grabbing a makeup palette off a shelf as I pass it and chucking it into the cart. She owes me, damn it. We've got to catch our train, Lucy reminds me again. Over her shoulder, she piles everything onto the checkout counter. So no time for smoke breaks, understand? It's like I'm 7 again and our parents let us go to the mall alone for the first time. I hold my hands up, backing away. All right, if you got this, then I'm going outside. There's no way I'm getting into a car with her for 45 minutes and then hopping on a train for 12 billion hours without a cigarette first. Outside, the icy air blasts into me and I huddle deep into my coat. Cupping the flame, I light the cigarette, wishing it could warm me up. A gust of wind whips around the corner of the building and I turn, shivering. Maybe this whole thing is a bad idea. Lucy's right. I would be missing classes. Call it a case of senioritis, but I'm desperate to stretch my wings. I need a break from the monotony of sleep class, food class. And I'll be honest, Lucy got my curiosity going. As I smoke, I run through the tidbits she's given me. I know his name, that he just got out of prison in Pennsylvania, and that Lucy was the only one he could call. I guess he must be the black sheep of the family. Maybe he got busted for drugs. It is kind of weird that he wasn't serving in Connecticut, though. Tea break. I suck the cigarette down, toss it into the parking lot, and nearly crash into Lucy as she comes through the doors. Shit, sorry. I touch her arm to steady her. Cold? She asks with a smirk. We throw ourselves into the car, the heater on blast, but not nearly hot enough. Lucy makes a barely livable wage as a teacher. Her car is a decade old, and sometimes the warm air coming out of the vents smells like burning rubber. She also has to get out and slam her fist into the left headlight to get it to work. But she has a car, which is more than I've got. We drive to the train station in New Haven, and I say a silent prayer that it isn't the one with no walls or anything. It's way too cold for that shit. But as we pull into the Union Avenue parking lot, relief washes through me. It's the bigger one, the one with heat and bathrooms. Not that we have time to even enjoy it, according to Lucy. You'd think the world was going to end if we missed this train. Lucy parks, and I wonder if it's safe to leave her car unattended in New Haven for a week plus. It might be a lemon, but it's all she's got. But there is a gate and a guy sitting in the booth, so I try to convince myself that no one will jack it. Older cars are a lot easier to steal. All they'd have to do is pay the parking fee. How much is this going to cost you? I ask as she hauls our suitcases out of the trunk. She plunks mine down in front of me, then hands me the shopping bags full of Cliff's new clothes. I'm not at all surprised that she's doing all this, though. Lucy may be afraid of commitment, but when it comes to people she loves, she'd give you the shirt off her back. Still, it's kind of odd that she's never mentioned Cliff before if she used to be so close with him. Lucy shrugs. It doesn't matter. Eyes narrowing, I scrutinize her face. It's hard to tell in the dim lighting of the parking lot, but she looks funny. I can't put a name to her expression, though. She almost looks pained, but happy, like she just got a bullet in the leg but told she won the lottery right after. I follow her, frowning at her back. She's acting so weird, and I'm not used to there being secrets between us. I resolve to flirt the truth out of Cliff the second I'm alone with him. He may be my cousin, but there's nothing wrong with a little flirting. This way, Lucy says, pushing through the entrance. Wishing I'd smoked one last cigarette during the walk over, I hurry after her. The station doesn't look at all like I'd pictured it. I bite my lip, realizing that I've never been on a train or a plane. I'm like a travel virgin. What if I have to pee? I chase her to the departure list. It flips, a loud clacking sound echoing through the lobby. My sister studies the times, nodding to herself. It's not that bad. You'll get used to it. So there is a bathroom on this thing. She takes off again, heading toward our track. I have no idea how any of this works. With my luck, I'd get on the wrong one if I had to do this alone. There aren't even people to ask, unless you want to go all the way back to the front desk or find someone at a track. This whole thing is totally DIY, and I don't like it. It's too much of a reminder that in 3 months, I'll be doing all of it myself, every day. Status is boarding, so hurry. Lucy breaks into a brisk walk-jog thing. Groaning, I step up my pace. We run through a freezing cold tunnel that's connected to the rest of the station by a wide-open archway. The state must pay an arm and a leg to keep the rest of the place warm. The air smells heavy with body odor, exhaust, and cigarette smoke. My fingers twitch toward the pack in my coat pocket, but Lucy glances back at me, a fierce glare on her face. I run faster. Finally, we reach our train. She leads me onto it, and my legs shake with gratitude for the seat I'm about to plop into. But every single row is full. Gaping, I turn toward her. We're not that late. She smiles a little, shaking her head. Come on. Lucy leads me toward a door on the end of the car. Then she disappears into it, lugging her rolling suitcase behind her. I dart after her and find myself in a small connecting tunnel, encased from the elements with heavy vinyl flaps. Through the window and the door of the next car, I see Lucy plowing forward. Every seat in that car is full, too. Glancing down, I'm shocked to see a flash of the track lit by the lights of the train station. I hope I won't have to walk through one of these once we're moving, then hurry to catch up. Eventually, we find a pair of empty seats. Lucy shoves her luggage into a compartment above our heads, and I mimic her like a good little sister. Then we collapse. The seats are surprisingly comfortable. I snuggle into mine and wiggle my toes in my boots. Then I peer around our car. The whole thing is full. There are still people wandering the cars looking for a place to sit. The train starts to move, and everyone who is walking grabs onto something to steady themselves as they continue their trek. I'm super grateful that we found seats at all, never mind two together. Looking around, though, I start to worry that I really will have to walk between cars to pee. Luce? I turn toward her. She stares out the window, her brown hair veil around her face. Where's the bathroom? Lucy shifts in her seat. A soft smile plays on her lips. At the back of the car. If you have to pee, I'd go now. Gets pretty rank after 6 hours. I glance back and notice the door on the left. Won't it stink up the whole car? She shakes her head. There's like a squirt of Febreze every so often coming through the air vents. Plus, we're far enough away from the door. This is the best spot, trust me. I'll deal with anything as long as I don't have to hop cars while we're moving, I tell her. Why do you think I hunted for seats? She asks with a grin. I start to tell her it's pretty obvious since they were all taken, but instead I smile back. Truth be told, I'm nervous about spending half a day on a train overnight. Adjusting to the dorms at school was cake compared to this. I don't know how I'll sleep or where I'll get coffee in the morning. Reading my mind again, Lucy pats the purse balanced on her knees. It's more like a tote bag. I've got Starbucks fraps in here. They'll be room temp by morning, but they'll do the trick. Have I told you lately that I love you? I quick hug her by resting my head on her shoulder for a second, pressing our arms together. Lucy exhales a long breath. For a second, guilt flickers in her eyes. Then she smiles, and like the sun after a storm, all of the clouds scatter. I love you too, Livy. My gut twists. This trip is not going to end well. I just know it. Morning rises, and my eyes feel like sandpaper. Just as I'd thought, I didn't sleep. It's impossible to drift off when you're rocking and jolting over bumps. Lucy didn't sleep either, so I don't feel too bad. We can be miserable together. But my sister is anything but miserable as the train lurches into the Amtrak station. She's practically chipper as she gets our luggage down from their compartment and practically skips toward the exit. I shamble after her, reminding myself that at least we're here. Hey, how did you get time off anyway? I ask her as we step off the train and into fresh air. I step to the side, letting go of my suitcase long enough to light a cigarette. Toss it, she instructs in her teacher voice. I lift an eyebrow at her while taking a nice long drag. There's nothing like a first cigarette after hours of deprivation. Our ride is here. Rolling my eyes, I point the cigarette at her. It can wait. It's not like we have far to go. Lucy presses her lips together and smiles guiltily, eyebrows lifted. We don't have far to go, right? With a shrug, she grabs her suitcase and heads toward an Escalade idling in the parking lot. We're in Harrisburg, about an hour away from Lewisburg. My shoulders slump. Smoking as quickly as possible, I chase her to the Escalade. She must have called an Uber. I pray that the driver doesn't have a non-smoking policy, but the dirty look he gives me as we near pops my little bubble. Taking one last drag, I toss it onto the pavement. The closer we get to Lewisburg, the more keyed up I feel. Lucy had the driver stop at a Starbucks, so I feel slightly more human now. Curiosity is what's really fueling me. Using a compact mirror, I touch up the makeup that was smudged by our harrowing overnight train ride and smooth my hair. Lucy raises an eyebrow at me but says nothing, and the driver lets us pick songs from his iPod. Not a bad deal considering he made me waste my cigarette. And then suddenly we're in Lewisburg, and the Escalade pulls up in front of the entrance to a Days Inn. A man paces out front, his hands shoved into the pockets of his coat. Long brown hair that's nearly black frames his face, and he's got a beard, so I can't really make out his features, but he's big. Not in a heavy way. He's tall and broad. Even with that bulky hand-me-down coat, I could tell he's built. It's like I'm psychic and imagine him into being. Biting my lip, I stifle a giggle. For all I know, he's really ugly and has a beer gut. It really has been too long since I've gotten laid. Lucy pays the Uber guy, we grab our luggage, and then my sister and I are standing in front of the motel with Cliff. They kicked you out? She asks him. He looks up, and those deathly brown eyes meet hers. Despite the massive amounts of fur on his face, he's handsome. Hot, even. There's a scar next to his eyebrow that's more like a pocked hole. Looks like someone blended him with a big rock. They probably did. But the rest of his face is intact. No teardrop tattoos or anything like that. His eyes are surprisingly soft and kind. When he smiles at Lucy, it lights up his whole face. I decide he definitely went to jail for selling drugs and wonder how long before he's connected again. I could use some bud. Checkout was 11, he says with a shrug. He peers at her, almost timidly. You look good, kid. Kid? I blink. Squinting, I examine him more closely. I note the lines at the corner of his eyes and the dark circles beneath them. He's got to be in his early 30s, maybe older. I pluck my pack of cigarettes from my pocket and light one, exhaling smoke into the air. Olivia, Lucy says, exasperated. She gestures toward the motel entrance, as if someone's going to walk out into my cloud of smoke any second. The parking lot is close to empty, the place desolate. Yeah, Olivia, Cliff says, eyebrows lifted. Sharing is caring. He holds his hand out for one. A grin spreads across my face. Resisting the urge to stick my tongue out at my sister, I hand him the pack and my lighter. He lights up, and his entire face relaxes as if I just took his cock into my mouth instead of sharing a cigarette. Putting my own cigarette between my lips, I stuff down the giggle that is bubbling up. I really am sleep-deprived. Been a while? I ask, when I get myself under control. Even that statement is dangerously close to 12-year-old humor. I take another drag. Cliff nods and smokes thoughtfully for a minute. His eyes never leave mine. They're deep brown, but so warm like redwood. It's been 20 years since I had a cigarette that wasn't stale, but that's not all I've been missing. He grins, a devilish smirk that shoots straight to my lower abdomen. The implication behind his words might be in my head. Lucy clears her throat loudly. Clifford, this is Olivia, my little sister. The color drains from his face and he chokes on his cigarette. Sister, he sputters. I snort. Relax, I tell him with a wink. I'm adopted. So that was chapter 2 from A Disturbing Prospect. You can go back and watch chapter 1. The entire book is available for free everywhere ebooks are sold, and it's also available free on my website in serialized chapters. And I have signed paperbacks available on my website, elizabethbarone.com. What a character. So last week we read chapter 1 of A Disturbing Prospect, and Cliff got out of prison, and he is trying to figure out pretty much everything. He doesn't have a place to stay. He doesn't have anywhere to go. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't know if he has any friends or family that he's going to be able to have as a support system, and he's figuring everything out. And his character arc is pretty awesome. I'm going to try not to spoil anything. So when Cliff gets out of prison, he is dealing with several traumas. He's processing so much. He has just gotten out of prison after a 20-year sentence. It's a long time to be away. He's dealing with grief and loss. And he's also dealing with having witnessed a child hurt. He's dealing with separation from his family. And he's dealing with, like I said, reintegration, getting back into society. Everything is different for him. Those are the things that he notices immediately, is everything is different. He is not familiar with anything anymore. The technology has changed. Everything that he knew going in is pretty much horribly outdated. And there's all this new stuff that he's got to figure out. So the first thing that he has to figure out is, how does he find his family so that he can maybe have a chance? Because the statistics of inmates committing another crime are really high when they first get out. It turns out that there's really no rehabilitation happening in these rehabilitation centers. There isn't as much of a reintegration process that you would think. All of these things shape this character as you're introduced to him in the story, as he's just kind of, you're just kind of dropped into right when he gets out of prison, and he's kind of just taking everything in and realizing, I'm all alone. I I don't have anyone. I don't have anywhere to go. My only shot is finding my cousin. And that character starts very not sure-footed at all. Like really just having to pick up the pieces and just really start building, and quick. Like he doesn't have time or room for any trouble that could potentially land him right back in. He really just wants to be out and not be there again. So this is a character that's used to solving all of his problems with his fists and violence. And now he's in a situation where he can't do that at all anymore. He's got to do things the quote unquote like legit way. He's got to do things by the book, right? He's got to make sure he checks in with his PO. He's got to make sure he gets a job right away, has a place to stay, ticks off all the boxes because he does not want to go back inside. Those survival behaviors that he had before don't suit him anymore. He knows what he is and what he's done, and he's really trying to do different. After 20 years in the prison, living like that, having to fight to defend yourself, not having contact with anyone in the outside world, can he change? That's what he wonders when he first comes out. It's, can he even change? Does he even have a shot at having a future, a family, falling in love? He can't do it alone. We all need support. So the first thing that he does is he tries to find his cousin and reconnect with her, because that was his best friend. But because of what happened and why he went into prison, he doesn't necessarily know if he's going to be able to find her or if she's even going to want to talk to him. So he is very much dependent on her accepting him back into her life. And their relationship was very, very good. They were very, very close, like this, like siblings basically, except he was much older than her. So kind of more of a sibling relationship. And he is really hinging everything. Like, if I can't reconnect with this person and she doesn't want me, then that's okay. I will go away, but then I won't. I will go away. Like, I'll go away, but I'll also go away. So he's in a very shitty position, and it brings up issues of, toxic masculinity, because he's feeling like, I should be the one taking care of her. I should have a job. I need to fucking get my shit together. I need to man up. He says, he uses those exact words. He just spent 20 years stuck in a prison with all these other men, where it really is fight or die in prison. There's no, it's not a vacation. This character is dealing with all that, processing all that. And then he meets Olivia, and everything changes for both of them. And they are immediately attracted to each other and recognize something in each other. But they also, because of their own individual traumas, can't quite connect. He's getting out of prison and he's like, I gotta check all these boxes because I've missed 20 years of my life. So I want to have a family. I want to settle down, and I gotta do it yesterday, right? So he's like ready to go, and she's like, no. Like, she doesn't want those things at all. And they both have very good reasons for wanting and needing the things that they need and want. They also complement each other at the same time. They also each have what each other needs. They have found a home and a family in each other. Cliff immediately starts gathering his sort of support system. He's got his cousin Lucy, he's got Olivia, he's also going to be having this PO that he can go and see and check in with. And then he eventually will have the club's support as well. He's having to kind of learn everything on the fly, completely just picking it up and just going. He doesn't know what Facebook is. He doesn't know how to use a cell phone. And he is finding that even socially, things have changed quite a bit, in his own community. The people that he was familiar with have all faded away. The letters, the calls, the visits, those have gone. He doesn't have any real community at all anymore. So that looks completely different from what he remembers growing up. Throughout the series, we see this character becoming less reluctant and more aware of his history, his family history, and the generational trauma that he's inherited. And through that understanding that he's gaining as he's kind of navigating his role in the club and becoming a fully patched member, he starts to realize that he does want the club because he wants to make it what it could be. You know, his father left a legacy that was not so great. He knows what he wants for it. So he goes from a person who has nothing and has no direction, no support system, nothing, to a person who is leading after not wanting to lead, but coming into that, which has been so fun and so rewarding to write and read. I know you guys love him. His character was actually influenced by people that I know in real life who did do time. Throughout the years, spent a lot of time in prison and actually were in prison longer than they were out. And through those experiences, they definitely have an interesting way of looking at life. And they have like a very amazing personality, quite honestly, because I think that it could change you. You know, you could let it, like Cliff worries about, is it going to change him? Is he going to still be that monster like he thinks that he is? He thinks he's always going to be that person that went in and spent those 20 years in there. So, you know, I think it's really easy to be that person, quite honestly. I think it's easy to just give in and just let those things just kind of take over and forget about what's important and what's within your control. You know, I think it's so much easier to just give into it. Whereas you can work and develop and evolve and I don't want to say like take the lesson because I don't know. It's prison is a very complicated conversation and I don't necessarily want to fully get into it, but I don't think most people start off in their lives and say, you know what, I hope I do some hard time. Most people are good people and that's not what they were intending at all. So I think that our system should reflect that and support that instead of supporting the chaos and trauma that comes from being in prison. What I really wanted to do was highlight how very little support there is and how very much we emphasize that prisoners should rehabilitate, but we give them zero support and opportunities to do that. Like, people can't even get jobs coming out of prison. Most employers will not hire a felon, and it doesn't even matter if the crime wasn't violent. In fact, recently I learned that most nursing homes won't even let a felon recuperate in their nursing homes, even if they weren't a violent criminal. And that to me is just insane. You're not giving people opportunities to actually come back into society. You're completely blocking them out because of their past mistakes. Through Cliff, I really wanted to highlight these things and draw awareness and attention to it because it really is something that is not really mainstream at all. It's just kind of always used as a plot device, like, oh, this character's done hard time. Well, you know, that comes with a lot of its own trauma. It comes with a lot of its own baggage, and it's very interesting to explore. And I think it's something worth talking about. If you enjoyed this discussion on burnout and character growth from prison to leader of the MC, please let me know. Please leave a comment on YouTube. You can also DM me. You can email me. You can leave a comment on the show notes on my blog. And thank you so much for listening to Books, Bud, and Brews. I'm Elizabeth Barone, author of Dark Romance with a Body Count and Small Town Romance with a Body Count. And you can check out all of my books, including some free books and chapters, on my website, elizabethbarone.com.